Patrick here, and time for another edition of Dollar Theater. Dollar Theater is an ongoing series started by our good friend Hobbs Horror, and that is where we watch and review a movie that we have acquired for $1.25 or less. So today's movie actually was is 2 weeks notice. There's no case. This means this movie was left to me by my good friend Jerome, and yeah, he didn't have he couldn't keep cases on his movies because he didn't have that much room. So, but anytime you see me review a movie like this without a case, that means it came from his collection, and glad to have it. So the movie is 2 weeks notice. It came out in 2002. Stars Hugh Grant, Sandra Bullock, and written and directed by Mark Lawrence. And yeah, let's get into it. So, movie opens up. We find Sandra Bullock's character. Her name is Lucy, and she is a very much a liberal lawyer. She's trying to save every building and landmarks in New York City, and she's fighting against George Wade. George, played by Hugh Grant, he's one of the two brothers, and they're tearing down buildings to put new ones up, and so they clash. Um, uh, but George's brother, Howard, is basically the mover and shaker behind the company, and George is the face. Um, so he does all the publicity and donation to the money and collects the Man of the Year awards. But Howard is the one behind it. So the Wade brothers work very well together. Even though you can see George is he's handsome, but he's not grounded. He's not grounded. He's very flighty, very by the moment, and whereas Howard is a long term thinker. Well, anyway, Howard tells George that he needs a new chief counsel because George has a bad habit of hiring not qualified attorneys, and sometimes that can cost them. And we see that when Howard tells them that they lost a multi-million-dollar project because the lawyer that George hired was not very good. Um, well, anyway, Lucy is out there trying to save the community center that her parents, who have raised her to protect the less and the less fortunate. Um, she's trying to save the community center. So what she ends up doing is she finds herself being hired by George after she tells George that she can help him. She can help him with another project, but only if he'll save the community center. And so he hires her. He hires her to become his chief lawyer, his chief counsel. And of course, she gets paid very, very well. Gets put up in an apartment. But Lucy is a very closed off individual. She's very focused on her career. She doesn't really interact with people very well at all. She struggles with that, and and of course, George, on the other hand, is not focused. He's scattered, and so they're the perfect pair. The flightless, scattered, rich billionaire against a really tightly run, focused, determined liberal lawyer. And of course, we know these movies. First they start off really cute, and Lucy goes to work for George, and pretty soon she finds herself at George's beck and call at all hours of the night and all events, including her best friend's wedding. George calls her, and she goes running because she thinks that he's in trouble. When she finds out that he wants to know her opinion on a tie, she gives her 2 weeks notice. She can't be at his beck and call 24/7. It's very tiresome. So, but she agrees to stay for the 2 weeks and hire her replacement. And that's when we meet June Carver, who's played by Alicia Witt, and and June seems at first very, very, very cool, very, sharp very sharp. Um, but of course, Lucy sees that, and she starts having feelings for George. But when she finds out that they broke that Howard has broken their agreement about saving the community center, and which puts George in a line to fight in a line of fire. It doesn't look very good for these two, and so they sort of start. They look at each other. They still like each other, and they still have feelings for each other. But now that there's added conflict of someone's word, it raises the tension up a little bit. Um, of course, this is a romantic comedy, so you already know how it's going to end. It's just getting there that's the fun. Um, this is more of a fantasy type movie in a sense. It's like a super billionaire, of course, and of course, a lot of wealth, a lot of, living in an apartment, glamorous apartment. Um, Lucy gets a $250,000 a year, salary, but she is principled. That's the one thing about Lucy. Lucy is that she's principled, and the money doesn't buy her. She still retains her values that her parents instilled in her. She has no problem at all walking away from it. She does love George because George is a nice guy. He really is, but he just needs to be focused. He needs to have a reason, have a purpose, and not just be at the beck and call of his own brother, which he has turned out and passed on when he wants people to help him. He thinks nothing of calling them up at 24/7, and that causes problems. Um, so this movie is it's charming, it's cute. There's no real drama to it. You know how it's gonna end. Like I said, you know how it's gonna end, and it's all about the chemistry between the two leads. And Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant definitely worked very well together on this movie. This movie was actually, well, it was mixed reviews because it's just another romantic comedy. It was a box office hit. It was made for $60 million. It grossed 200 plus home release and whatnot. Um, I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was very fun, and I'm a Hugh Grant fan. I like Sandra Bullock as well. I think she's really really fun, and I thought this was worth watching. I had never seen it before, and so this is my first time watching it, and I liked it, and I'm glad to have it, and I recommend it. You can get this. Came out on from Warner Brothers. This is 2002. I'm sure this is easy to acquire through Amazon. Through I think John Horwath Haas said there's Whatnot, and called a Whatnot app where you can bid on movies. And also Amazon. You can probably get this at Amazon pretty cheap as well. Hell, you might even get this at Hamilton Book. I'm sure they have older movies there as well, so that you could get that there. The movie has a lot of cool special features to it, including two commentaries. One with the cast and crew, Mark Lawrence, Sandra Bullock, and Hugh Grant. That's actually very funny. Recommend watching the commentary. And then they have what they call a blooper commentary, where you watch the movie and then they'll put up a little sign and you hit that and it'll tell you a little bit about the movie or show a blooper or whatnot. All right, so that is it for Dollar Theater for this week. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week. We'll see you next week with something else. I don't know what we're doing next week. I have to check my calendar, which is actually the Cheetah. The Cheetah will have to tell me what we're watching next week. But yeah. Real quick hype out. I'm gonna put this down in the description box down below. But our good friend Mr. Dan Hoare has started Martial Art Mondays. So if you're into martial arts and you want to see some cool reviews, start heading over to Mr. Dan. He is already starting to put some movies out, and highly recommend that you go over and check it out. And I'll put a link down below, and go check that out. After you check out Dollar Theater here on Half Cheetah Will View, which comes out every Monday at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. every Monday, we drop our review. All right, that's it for us. Thanks so much. Oh gosh, if you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and more importantly, drop a comment. Thanks so much. Peace.